Like you mentioned at the beginning that you stumbled on the free software concept and languages at the beginning, and you mentioned shareware. Do you remember when you realized or learned that behind these openly available tools and software, there are communities and people who participate in these communities either as volunteers, or they might be paid by a company to do the job, but they're still doing that work in an open, public, collaborative environment. So when did that part of open source became clear to you?
Probably not until, you know, 2000, somewhere around that time frame. I can remember because I think up until that point, I recognized that individuals could build things that then they would open source or give away or whatever they wanted to do. But I didn't understand the collaborative dynamic or the community dynamic of multiple people contributing to a single source. And I think it was really, the WordPress community brought that into sharp relief for me, as well as, Ruby on Rails, I think was the other one that it was at the time a really popular way of developing products. And it became clear that, it was more than a few people who are contributing to making that easier to use and more effective, no matter who might take credit for building that framework. But it was really then that it started to dawn on me that it's like, this is not just a person or a couple of people. This is, a significant number of folks who are often spending their free time working to make the best product possible in a very voluntary way. And then that continued to morph, where I would encounter the kind of sponsored participants as well. So it's somebody who is paid by a corporate entity to contribute specifically to an open source project. Like those people kind of came into my orbit. And it just eventually became this understanding that the ethos was, how do we build the best product possible? But the fueling that development was always passion more than anything else. And that was really compelling to me. Like that seemed to be, a lot seemed to be a lot more pure of a pursuit in terms of building things and crafting things than I had encountered in the proprietary software world, which was generally, how do we build something that people will pay for, not necessarily how do we build the best thing possible that people will pay for.
So this idea of people working together towards a common goal that they are personally interested and invested in, it sounds like that was what drew you to get involved in the ecosystem.
It was like, I don't think it was anything intentional. It was just, I was kind of like, through osmosis, learning about the industry and what was going on, and the people I was hanging out with were deeply involved in those communities. And so it just became clear to me that if the people who were important to me and who I thought were doing interesting things were part of the open source community, then it made sense that I should try and spend as much time with those communities as I could, because then I would find more interesting and creative and innovative people in our community. And so, yeah, it wasn't anything planned. It just kind of, like, little by little, I was just more and more part of that community, which was interesting.
Do you remember how you got involved in these communities? Like, what were your first contributions to ones where you started to hang out and get involved?
Yeah. So We had, so Portland, for people who might not be aware of the geography, we're kind of in between Seattle, Washington, and the Bay Area in California. And so we often kind of keep an eye on what's going on in those communities. And down in the Bay Area, O'Reilly had run this kind of private little get together called Foo Camp. And as a kind of open source equivalent to that, they had started a format called Bar Camp, which was, and because of course, Foo Bar. And the the premise of that was it was an unconference. It was an event that you showed up and built the agenda dynamically as a community, as a group, and basically, you were doing pull requests against the event schedule to say we think this belongs in here and this is a bug and we need to fix this. And that was really the first way I was able to effectively engage in that community. And we had started a version of Bar Camp here in Portland, a few of the people I knew. And so that was really like me dipping my toe into taking an active role in that community. And then that, of course, led to me starting to blog about what I was seeing in the community using, and I was already on WordPress, but no one was reading that blog that I was doing. So I started the new one on WordPress, and yeah, then I was having to deal with new builds and new plugins and all those kind of things. So that was, and spammy SQL injections and stuff like that. So I kind of got dragged kicking and screaming into that side of it, but it was something I got to experience as well.